Okay, so I promise that I will do another video on how to implement your project using the framework I have given you. So I will go through that today and post this as soon as possible, and think that will clear out so many problems that you're facing. The first of all, yes, I did not realize that code blocks was updated on April 2nd, and that caused a lot of problems to the people, right? The thing happened was, yeah, the number 4 right now in code blocks is 64-bit version. um, the glut we are using is a glut 32. It's a 32-bit version. So that was the one problem that causing so many incompatibilities. So I send you a link for the older version. Otherwise, there are ways that you can fix it actually, but you have to uninstall 64-bit version of code blocks and use the other one, which is 32-bit. I think it is the 8th on that list, the new list that they put it out. And you can go to settings on that. If you have a compiler problems, usually you can fix those things when you go to the toolchain executables. You might see some values different than this one here, and you can auto detect your compiler. So this is the path it's supposed to be, and there are some things like that you can change and you get it to work. But for now, to make things easy and straightforward, let's have the old version, which is a 17.12 MingGW. So that will help if you still having a problems on rendering things. Okay, so I'd suggest you to uninstall 20.03 code blocks version. It came just 2 weeks ago. It is not good until they fix those things. So uninstall that, reboot your machine, and install 17.12 from the link I just announced. Okay, right. Saying that, let's go over the assignment. So that is first thing we should do is read the assignment, right? Yeah, so this is the assignment. That's a C++ assignment that you had to do. It's a 2D application where the user character environment settings, right? And let's see what we have to do here. So it's the top view. It's already set up for you like that, and the map is displaying there. Yes, characters will move cell by cell towards the target location, right? So that is also set right here. So that part is done. And there are multiple type of characters: the human, bird, fish, and frog. There are 4, right? So I will so let's go ahead and create that, like not all of them. Let me create 2 characters. So how you going to create 2 characters? That's the first thing I'm going to do, right? So then we'll go step by step how you're going to manage to do this. Okay, right. Okay, so how do you have multiple characters on your system? So that's the first thing we're going to do, right? So let me minimize this. We'll come back to that. And yeah, this is my project. I'm already opened here, and I have main CPP, right? That is most of the things I'm doing here. So let's compile and run it for one time, see whether it is running. Yeah, so this is what we have in your the copy I gave you. So when you press a key, it will start running, right? So you don't need the keystrokes on this program anyway, but right now that's how it is, right? Yeah, this is running random locations right now. So we'll take care of that, and we will apply something else instead of running like that. Okay, Right, so this is what you have. Make sure this part is running in your system. If it is not, you have to do a lot of troubleshooting and make your system work up to this level, right? Okay. And so the first thing is you have to create more characters, right? So let's create another one. So that part we can do here. We can say player, right? Let's have another player. So it is player. For easy for me to type fast, I just have little abbreviation names, but I'm encouraging you to have meaningful names. Like for example, bird is a bird, frog is a frog, human is a human, instead of P1, P2, things like that. Okay. Right. So and then new player. Right, and then I'm calling the constructor. Right, so this is P1, so that is another player, right? So this is the second player on my system, right? So like that you can have multiple. So I want to display this now on the screen, right? So that is another thing I have to do is, okay, how do I display this? So I create the class instance, so I have 2 instances now. And then the next thing I had to do is initialize this and have some image in it, right? So let's go ahead and do that part. So we can go to the initialization here, and this is the previous initialization. You can go ahead and copy this and change some parameters in it. Okay. Right. So let's copy that and go ahead and paste it. Okay. And okay, now I'm going to change this to P1, right? Okay, so what is the image I'm going to get, right? That is the next question. So these are set up like this. The location of my next one, let's put somewhere else, like my grid is from 0 to what is the grid size I have here? Grid size is 8, so let me put somewhere up, like for example 4 by 4, right on the center. Yeah, okay. And you don't need arrows anymore, because these arrows thing is from the previous semesters that we did. You can get rid of those things if you want. You're no longer using arrows in this program. Okay, so you can comment it out if you want. You don't need this. Okay. And so yeah, so no arrows, just I'm going to delete that. And okay, so what image I'm going to get here? So let's go ahead and look at the images I have before, and I'm going to pick one. So you can find anything online, obviously, right? Okay, so let me find something from what I have. Well, the small little remarks on that. So when you're having the images, these are the images I have, right? So one is here. It's going down. The first image is coming down, so it is downward, and the second one is going up, and then the left and right. Make sure this order is matches when you get a sprite sheet. Doesn't matter the number of frames, because we're going to update that, but the directions has to match. Okay, otherwise you can see your players moving backward. Yeah, so if it is not, you may have to do a little editing. So I have a matching one right here. I think it's a little bit off on this one. You have to make sure it is evenly divided from this to this by 4, and then placing it right. I have seen some After Effects on artifacts from this one, but anyway, that's not a big deal. If you have good images, it will be look good. Okay, right. So so these are the images I have. So I'm going to put this guy, I think it's called E. So the player one is my enemy, and then the frame number that I has was 4 actually, so it is not 6. Now the number of frames I have is 4, right? Okay, so I'm going to place it here. So that is my second player, right? So that is initialization of my player and the place it. So after you initialize this and the placing setup, we have to draw it, right? So right now I have something called player actions here. We'll change this a bit because now we're going to, I don't need all the code that I give you. I will modify this a little. So let's have it for now the same, but we're going to change this. Okay, right, so it is player actions. So I will have my player actions here again. Okay, so if I have the same thing calling twice, not good. So that's why I said if you're using multiple things, we will change this code a little. Okay, I don't want to do this for now. Let's do we'll call this straight from the player class. So we have something in the player class which is can have player, right, and then I have draw player, so I'm going to call that function. So it will draw the player here, right? And then the other one here, I'm going to do the same, draw player right here, and this one will be player 1, right? So I initialize it, I set up image, I set a location, and I'm drawing it. So let's see what I get, right? So I'm compiling right now. I believe it did not do anything. Oops, this will be what, capital P it seems like. Yeah. All right, run again. Right, it's running. It's running. Okay, so I have 2 players now. Now it's not going to work because I removed the action, but those 2 are there, right? So one is here, one is here. 2 players. If I make it a little bigger, yeah, you can see the 2 players right there. Okay, right, so it's good. Now I have 2 objects and 2 players. Well, the objects you can have anything, and the walls, of course, you can have any kind of walls that you want. Right, so yep, so that is the how you're going to draw things on the screen. It's pretty simple, 3 steps, right? You can draw anything on the screen. Right, so the play actions here, I'm going to change these things. So now you know how to place things. So let's see what else it's asking. So now these 4 parts is done, right? And then I believe you already know so there are rules here. The human, bird, fish, and frog cannot be on the same cell. So you have to take care of this in your matrix, of course, when you're writing your own code. I have nothing to do with that. Okay, and consider the environment represent as a matrix. The environment contains different cells: high mountain, middle mountain, foothills, plain, forest, desert, beach, and ocean. So all these 8 things. I suggest you to have more grid than 8 by 8 because there are a lot to put in there, right? So how do you do that? How do I change the grid size and everything? Well, you can go up here and change this maze when you're starting, maybe 15 or something like that, and then run it again. Right, so that will change a lot of things in here. So right now it is very small, right? You can see your characters is tiny now, right? And then you can set up nicely the bigger matrix with nice environment in it, right? Because it's 8 by 8, not 8 by 8 anymore, right? That's 15 by 15. So you have more tiles, so you can have it much nicer. Okay, right? Yes. Well, if you run it in the project, it will be nice. With these characters, won't be small like this, so it will be yeah, even in your monitor it will be all right. Okay, Okay, so we place that, and then we're looking at the assignment again. So okay, so I will talk about one thing here, which is how do you going to set up these things in your in the matrix, and how you going to pull it up and set up on your in your GUI interface. Okay, so I already have the samples here. For example, you have the wall 100 bricks I have there, and in the previous video I was talking about that, so how you placing it, and then you will have the walls in there, and this is how you draw the walls. And right here you drawing the walls like that. You have 8 items to draw now. Okay, this is just a wall. So you can have W1, W2, or the ocean drain. I encourage you to write it as is the names. Okay, so this is just the main background, has nothing to do with anything else. Right, so okay, so one thing I want to point out here, so how are you going to put this out from a matrix to the graphics, right? So that was the problem most people first think of. Okay, so now let's say you have a text file. So this is your text file. Okay, in this text file you will have your matrix, which is let's say you have right, let me look at this 1 minute. So right, so now I will have my mountain edge maybe, and so these are edge mountains, and then a high mount, that is a high mountain of the middle ones, right? Somewhere here, the middle mountain, and then the ocean maybe, or something like that, right? And ocean here, somewhere here like that, that is the ocean, and so on. What else? The forest, forest, like that. Okay, so this is enough for me to teach you, right? So make this this is a text file, and the text file has line by line like this, right? Okay, so each line you may count as 0, 1, 2, 3 like that. That is a line counter. And then you will have yeah, 0 first character column, second column, third column, and so on, right? Okay, so those are the characters. So you already have a grid value, right? But the problem is this is a grid value, right? So you reading a value here, you know, it's the first character of the first row. So when you're having a line counter, that is your line counter, and so each one of these are the line counters, and then these are character counters, right? Yeah, so that means what, you know already X and Y. The problem is not that. The problem is in my maze the 0, 0 is right here. That is your 0, 0. In this one, the 0, 0 is top here, right? So how do I convert? Well, if you get 0, 0 on your text file, right, this is your 0, 0, right? And but if you place 0, 0 in your game here, I mean in your maze, that will draw here, right here. That is not right. Okay, so how do I convert this to this? Well, it is a mapping of y-axis values, right? So how do you do that is you get the grid value, which is 15 in my case now. So that is the maximum grid value. Subtract your line counter, right? So this is a line counter. If you can do that, right? So this is a line counter. Okay, so each line counter, if you subtract, so for example, if it's 0, if you subtract 0 from 15, that is my location, my the y position of my terrain, right, will be, the y position will be this, right? The x position will be as is, the 0, right? So 0 y position will be this, right, 15 minus. So that means maximum grid value minus the line counter. That will map this guy up here, right? So that is a mapping. If you want to map it like that, you can, right? That is up to you. I don't know, or you can just have your line counter adjust the way you want. You start with the maximum and you subtract the line counter each. So that means this is a line counter 15, the maximum grid value. This is line counter 14, this is line counter 13, and so on until you come to the 0, right? So you can do that. You don't have to do this calculation in that case. Straight ahead you can place things in there, right? So you can do that in that way, or you can do it in the other way. Okay, so that will solve the problem if you have. So what you do is you read each tile and then get the position, and you apply that position into the wall placing thing. So this is where you're going to place it. Either you do it individually, yes, of course. You read the file here. So that part I don't want to do it. So you will do that part by yourself, right? Okay, so you read the file here, right here, after you having a picture for this, like right here, somewhere instead of this part right here, right? You read the file, read your text file right here, right? Text file, and get what type it is. If it is, you have to pick the type. Is it high mountain or whatever? So you will have, each one will have images. Actually, this is a little bit bad way to write this, because I'm reading a same file image on and on in a for loop. But for this game it doesn't matter, because it's just a one-time thing, right? It's a 2D game. There are optimizations you can do. Only one time you read the file and then pass that handler, instead of you reading an image 100 times here, or yes, or 15 times in this case, right? So yeah, so you can optimize this code actually, right? Okay, that's what I'm saying. But anyway, what you have to do is you have to read the text file, and according to text file, if it is a high tile or whatever, if it is a high mountain tile or anything, if it is ocean or whatever, you pick the type. So you write a function actually, write a function to read the file and pick the type. So it will be type you're going to get as the input, and then you're saying the type, and then the x value, and then the y value, right? And then you can call the type whatever the class it is, right? So it is a type, and it has to have a counter of that type, and dot place, right? Place wall, and then x and y, right? Okay, so yeah, this is a conversion, either way you can do. So the read file, and you do this part. So that will be your matrix converting into this. So that's all you do there, right? So when you do that, yeah, you can follow the same example of wall. You can have other tiles. So this part I think many people has done, so that's why I'm not going to do it. I have seen so many people has done it already, setting up the terrain. So the terrain part is completed for most of the people. Okay, so yeah, so that part is good to go, right? So let me address the rest of your assignment. And so the terrain setting is, that's all. Okay, right. Okay, so let's move to the rest. I'm right here. So the mountain setting, so you can have 8 items. Now your grid is a little bigger, so you can have it nicely in there. So eight different images represent the blocks. Yeah, you can do that. Okay. Right. In relation to the terrain, the characters can take more time to move one vertex to another in the graph. Yeah, so that's the rule. That means you're just moving one square to the other. So we're already going to do that. I will show you how to do that anyway. And the terrain should include the special features as the tunnels in the mountains if you want to do that. Yeah. And these are actually the rules that you're going to set up in your pathfinding. That has nothing to do with this in the graphics part. Okay. Yeah, so however you want to do it, you maybe have different tiles, more than 8 different tiles, something with the tunnel in there and things like that. Okay, so you can arrange that much better, right? The terrain can load to a text file, and characters represent different elements. That's what I was talking about a minute ago, and display on the map. Yes, so that is something that you have to do. I think that's the easiest part, that you're reading a file and then loading things, right? Okay, so the controls, the character, you're going to click the character. So we're going to write this part. Yes, it says click on the character and then select the character, and then click on the target to move to the target, right? So this part, this is what we're going to do now. Okay, right. So I want to click the character and click on the target, those two things. So how do I do that? Right, first thing, yeah, let's get rid of this action thing. I don't need this action thing here because you're going to write anything like turn left, turn right, right? So you don't want this part. We'll simplify things much better, easier to do. Okay. Yeah, you don't need the shooting things. You have no arrows right anymore, so you don't need that. And position getting, you need, yes. Idle function we're going to change. We're going to change a lot here. For now, yeah, just comment this out for now. Okay, so we'll come and change this later. Okay, and right, so you don't need that either. And let me go down. Okay, so now I'm going to set there are two buttons on my key, the mouse function. One is left, one is right. So I would say I would pick the player by the left button and the destination by the right button. Yeah, okay, the right button is for the destination, left button for picking a player, so it will be no confusion, be easy, straightforward, right? Right, so how do I pick the player by the left button? That is the first thing I want to do here, right? How do I make sure I do that right? What are the things I need for this is, well, I have to see whether the player I am selected, did I select a player before I move that, right? And then the destination, I have to keep a record of the destination. And what else I need? Yeah, so let's have the destination, the easiest one. So we'll go from there. So let me have something called destination right here. Okay, so let's have destination is an integer value. So destination of x and destination of y. So let's have it like this, comma destination of y. Those are two things. Yes. Right. So how do I set this up? Well, let's go to right click. Right. So when I do the right click on, so you may realize that x position and y position of my mouse is already I'm doing here. I don't want to print it, so just comment that. Right, now I'm going to do these actions you don't need. So this keyboard thing you don't need, because I'm not going to use any keyboard on this program. So it's all mouse was with the other stuff. So you don't need a keyboard. So I don't need a comment either. So I'm just blank that out, and I'm coming here. So first thing is destination, which is the right position. So what you do is here, I'm setting my destination, right? So how do I do that? Is simply after this function call, the x position and y position is set. So the dest x is going to be equal to pos x position. I think it is x pos here. Is it? No. What did I right here? Okay, x and a capital P, x and capital P, OS position, right? And then destination y is going to be equal to nothing but y position, right? Okay, so those are the two things setting up for your destination, right? And now I had to figure out how do I activate the player, right? So for that, so let's go ahead and set up some condition. How do I know there's a player in there in order to activate them, right? Okay, so the easy way to do this is, this will be a if condition, right? For each player we may have to write that for the each player, and make sure that player is active or not. So you have to set that, right? I don't have a parameter to say the active player or not. So the active player is the one who's going to move, right? Okay, so if the player is active, I'm going to make him move. So let's go ahead and create a variable in my player.h saying boolean value. Live player is there because it was the previous game. Previously when you doing the project, we did the live player. So in this one we will have active player, right? Active player is the one who's going to move. Active player, right? So that is the function I'm going to use. And yeah, you can initialize it here if you want, but to keep the standards, we'll initialize that in my constructor, right? So it's player, we have some constructor values setting up here. So go there and set this guy equals false. So nobody's active so far, right? And let's have another one, which is yeah. So this is I'm going to use that now here. So I'll say if, right, if my x position, right, equals the player, right? So get player location. So I have this, oops, this, and then say get player location, right? Dot x, and y pos has to be what? Y position has to be equals, and get p get player location dot y, right? So if this condition is true, then I say activate my player. So player selected, so the player will be activated, right? So if you have more than one player, you're going to move one at a time, right? Not all of them are going to move. So I can set something like this. I can set active player to equals to true, and then if you set one to true, the others has to be false. So it's better that you say P1 in this case. I think it's capital P. Did I put a capital P there? Yeah. and capital P1 is the next player, or the frog, or whatever you're going to use. Active player equals false. So in that case, you are not going to confuse your system with many. Okay, so yeah, so that is that, and I'm going to have the same for the player 1, right? So this is player activation, I mean the first player activation, and then the second player activation I can set like this. Okay, and yeah, so in this one it's going to be 1, it's going to be 1, right? And this is going to be 1, and this is going to be no, right? So okay, so now it's reverse this two, right? So I can use either one. Okay, all right, so what do I do when it's activate? I'm going to move them, right? So if it is activated, I'm going to move. So let me check that part. How do I check that part? Well, I can move them in my idle, right? I can just simply say move the player, right, and then see whether that works, right? So instead of having all this the crazy things here, let me have something like, maybe something like, instead of the player action, I can say player move, maybe. Yeah, player move up. Let's make them moving upward. So instead of this, I can say, all right, so let me think a little. Here we have one player already, it's just a stationary player. Instead of I'm having a stationary player, it's better I have a default player that who's going to run up and down by the selection, right? So in that case, this is not good. So I'm going to write one general function to move everything, right? So that will be helpful, right? So let me do something here. Okay, let me have one function. So let's call a function here. I'm going to create a function now. Move void move player, right? What is this one going to do is moving the player up and down wherever you want to go. Okay, so right now I'm just going to simply move one player. So what I had to pass here, well, I had to know what is the player, what type it is, right? So whatever I'm going to move. So let me have a function with you passing a player pointer, right? So that will be helpful when you're moving this. So the move player, let me capitalize this and then have player pointer. Oops, what in the world happened? Right, player pointer, right? And they call this character. Character, okay, my character, right? So that's my character, and I will pass the direction as a string, right? As a string, I'm going to pass the direction, right? For now, that's what I have. Okay, so now let me move this character is too long. Well, let me, you better write something like this. Okay, so let me call it right now ply, the player. Okay, so whatever you want to call it. So then the ply, I'm going to move, right, move player on my function. Where is my function? Move player. Okay, yeah, there you go. Move player, and it's asking the direction as oh, okay, now let's do it like this for now. And it's asking number of frames. Oops, so I have two images. One is number of frames is, for one is 6, the other is 4, right? So that means I had to pass that let's say frames here. So that means I have to pass the number of frames here. So another one is int frames. Right, so I'm going to pass that. So let's say this is what's going to happen when I select them. He's going to move, right? So well, I have a few settings on the movement, which is he's going to do the movement in steps. So this one right here, right? So he's going to move it in steps. So let me get this guy and put it up there. And yeah, so this is steps. So let me copy this part, grab this one and move it here. So he's going to move by steps. Okay, so that means one square and then he stopped. That's what your assignment asks. So this part, don't worry about it, I already given to you. I'm going to change it a little. Okay, so that is what I'm doing here, just changing the code so it will be easy for you to manipulate. Okay, you don't have to do it in this way, there are so many other ways, but I like this way, right? So what I'm doing right now. Okay, so now I'm saying with the steps, I'm going to move this guy up. So let me think a little here. We'll do it in the movement, otherwise stop. So if the steps of the PLY here, the PLY steps is greater than PLY unit weight. Okay, I don't need equal, I will say this one. And if that's the case, I will set my steps to 0, which is I'm going to stop. So that is what it is. I don't want to, I'm not going to explain this much because it's not related to your project actually, but well, you can use this to make your life easier, right? So that's why I'm doing this anyway. Right, and yeah, so and then I will do one more thing here. Else I'm going to move. So he will move one square at a time if I do this. So that is the purpose of doing this. I will move one at a time. Okay, and yeah. So yeah, okay, so now he's going to move up anyway. So and then he will stop when the steps coming to this value, and then he is going to move again. So he will do this on and on until he reaches the top for now. Okay, one thing, I don't want to move all the players, so the player moves only it is active, right? So in this case, when the mouse click, he has to move. So that's what it is, right? So let me comment there, put this in if statement saying else you do this part if and only if my PLY is active, right? Active player, right? So if he's an active player, he's going to move, right? Otherwise he doesn't do anything. That's what it is, right? So let me have that part there. So that is a move player. So I'm giving the direction as a string. So I will pass direction up anyway. So it is the dir here, right? And then the number of frames will be the frames that I'm passing here, and he will move up. And okay, so we leave it like that for now. And then I want to move him actually in my idle function, right here. Okay, so in idle function, right now he's moving super slow. I can make him fast by putting this only for 30, and that is that. And then instead of I'm doing this part right here, let me comment that out. So I have my no actions needed. I'm going to just do the simple move for now, and I don't need this one either. So let me have call the function which is move player, like this one right here. So I'm going to call that here for the both players that I have. Okay, so both players calling move player. Only the one who's active will move, right? So the P1 is my first, the P is my first player, and the direction I'm going to give here is up, right? Up direction, simple up direction, and then the number of frames for my first guy is 6, right? So that is the one movement, right? And then the other one, move player, move E, I need E, move player P, P0, right? And he also moving up, right? And then he's going to move up in, he has 4 frames, only 4 frames. Yeah, right. So now, yeah, this, they are going to move like that upward, and I'm going to reset my timer and then do it again and again. So okay, so far I have set up my idle function to move them up only if they are activated. So the active players will move, but if it is not, he's not going to do anything, right? Let me compile this and then run it and then see what I really get. Okay, so I get one error, which is this is a string and this is a character. So well, I cannot do that. So let me, for now, let me put this manually up here. We'll take care of this in the next step. Okay, so so that is just a bug in there, and I have some error here saying what, move player 0, right? Yeah, and then I say up, and then this P0 is not declared. Okay, so what did I declare up here? Let me go and see. Oh, the P1, I'm not P0. So that is P1 player, right? So those are 2 players. Okay, so I think it's all good so far. Okay, so that's compiled and run. So let me move further to do some adjustments in my player.cpp. So let's go to player.cpp. Since now I'm not going to print action, I'm going to do the draw player. So in that case, there's no reason to have a draw player in my movement. So get rid of this part right here. It is under move player and then the draw one, so you don't need this one anymore. So let's get rid of that. And also I'm running more than one player, right? But if you do that, you should not have a global values, because this is global, means it is for any instance. If you're creating more instance, every instance have the same value here because it's global. Let's make this timer local. So cut that and move it to the player.h. Why? Then each of the instances will have a separate timer. Okay, so this, just put it here in your .h file. That make things make sense if you do that. Okay, so yeah, that helps in many ways if you are doing more players. Actually, in your case, it doesn't matter if you're running only one player at a time, but this is a better coding. So I just, yeah, move it there. Okay, all right, two changes. One is remove the drop layer from the actions, the other is this, right? So let's compile again. Oh, one more thing. I think we are waiting too long for play to move. I think 300 milliseconds is too long, right? Might have to go and change that as well. Oh, he's moving. So but it's very slow, he's moving, right? So when you click one on the other, yeah, it doesn't do real fast. So let me go and change some speeds of this. And where is that? In the main, I have 300 milliseconds for the movement. So I reduce that now to 30. So whenever one of these are activated, so he has to be moved. So that's what it is, right? So let's test that, and we'll come back. Right, so if I want to move this guy, yeah, now he's flying. And then if I want to move this guy, he should fly, he should stop. Yeah, he does that. And then if I click again, oh, yep, there you go. And if I want to make this guy move, I will change the grid size. It's too small to see and click, seems like. Yeah, I don't see the grid. I have to click the right middle of the grid, seems like, right? So if I want to click this guy, he's moving now. If I want to move this one, so he's moving, right? So I have to make it a little bigger. Here you can see now he's moving, and he's moving, and he's moving, he's moving. So now it's activating one person at a time, right? This is good. So now I can use my mouse to control things, right? Yeah, okay. All right, so let's go back. Yeah, for this purpose I'm going to reduce the grid size so you can see better, because it's a demo. Let me put 10 here for now. Okay, right, so now I have mouse movements for the destination, and I have mouse movements for the player selection. It says first you select the player, then you select the destination. How do I do that? Well, that means I have to select the destination, the player first, and then come to the destination, right? So let's go ahead and fix that part. I will have a variable called boolean. I will have boolean value to select the player first. So bool player selected. Otherwise you don't have to do anything. Selected. Right, so I set this to false at the beginning, right? And only if my player is selected, then I'm clicking my right button will select the destination. Right, so let's go back to down here where I'm getting my mouse clicks. Right here. Right, I can say, okay, I'm setting my destination only if, right, player selected. So only if I player selected, I'm going to set this one, right? So that means the second click. The first click is the player selecting, and the second one is the destination, right? So that's what, this is the order I set it up. So that's how you set up the order. But when you select the player, I have to activate to select the player true. So the player selected has to be true whenever you click on the click on here, right? So that is that. Yeah, left down is the position is this. I set this one equals true. Okay, and only this one I come here and say this one equals true. So when is it going to be false in that case? Well, after you click one and then pick up the destination, then you set this one back to false, because you already marked down your destination and the player, right? So in that case, when you do this here, it will go back and forth, right? So only if the player is selected, then what I should do is make it, actually you don't have to set it to false, only I need to know is the player is selected if you want to move it, right? So otherwise there's no trigger to move your characters. That's why I said this. Yeah, well, think about it. Right now you don't need to false, you're just saying player selected and then the destination, and then you can move your selected player. So that is how you get to know that you selected the player. So that's why I put it there, so you can use this wisely later on. Okay, so now, right, so I can select the player and the destination. So what else I have to do here? Right, so now you select the target, and then the character will move towards the target. So right, so how do I get this portion of it? What is this? What you have to do in the program? Well, what you have to do in your program is, now whenever you create your own little matrix thing in your right, these are the things that you have, forest and then everything like that set up, and then now I have a destination to go. Maybe I want to go to the entrance start of the forest place, and my player is here. So somebody click this player, and then I click the forest place right here. So now you calculate, according to this, you calculate the path, right? So like this, like this, like this, like this. So anyway, you going there, right? So then now you know the path. So these are the grid spaces for the middle of the grid that you go, or the grid value. So in this case, you say, all right, so what is the output you should generate from your path finding algorithm? So this is the path finding algorithm. You're writing your own. So that is the part I have no I have nothing to do with, right? So that is the project actually. So you have this, and you give some values with that map that the Dr. Sakati gave you, and then you generate this path, right? And then you store this path in an array, right? How are you going to store it in an array? The best way I suggest you to do is, now you know the path, right? So this guy go right first. So it is right first, and then he's going up. Let's say you're going up to 2 squares up, right? Like this. And then again right. Right. And again right. And so on. So you will go in the path, right? Right, maybe right up, and then the left, let's say, right? Something like this. So you generate this array using your path finding algorithm. That is something you do by your own, right? And that is the knowledge, one part of the knowledge we're going to test you, right? Okay, so when you do this, this is what you get as the outcome, and you're going to apply this to this code right here and make him move according to this. So that's all you have to do. So I will do a sample. I will do I will start from here, right here, right? From here to here you have to do, okay? Right, where are you going to do this? Well, actually you can do this in the mouse click. Once you selected your destination, once you select your destination on this one right here, oops, yeah, give me a second to make it smaller here. So once you select the destination, right, so this is where you selecting the destination. So you know the source location and you know the destination the location. So the input for this program, whatever you have here, the input will be your source and destination, right? Source and destination. So once you select the destination, you know you can calculate the path, right? You know you can calculate the path and store those values in an array. Good. So you can have it in an array. So this is the part you're going to do, right? And then it will generate an array with these commands. Okay. So now I want to use these commands to move my object in my program, right? So that's what I do, right? So once I click my player and the destination, it should go in the direction of this whole thing, right? So first I want to check one thing, which is the player selected works, right? I did not check that. So let me go and run my program. Okay, so this is my program, and I want to make sure if I click the, so what button is, right button is for the destination. So I'm pressing my right button now, right? And it does not do anything, right? Okay. And I click the left button, now it's moving, right? Yeah. So that means left button for this, but right now it's moving up because I did not execute any command or anything, right? So one thing we have to make sure is whenever you click on this guy and the destination, you have to execute the directions for him to move. Right now it's default going up for everything. So let me handle this more precisely now. Okay, so now what I'm talking about here is how are you going to do that algorithm and then generate a array on it. Okay, so let's have a default array. I'm going to create an array and then I'm going to put some values and see how I'm going to make it work here. Alright, the first thing is just have an array of values. Let's call it maybe directions or something like that, right? So yeah, let's have a string array. It's easy for me to have a string array, or you can have a character array. In that case it has to be double size, 2D character. So I'm just going to have a string array, right? So the two reasons I'm going to teach you this. One is how you manipulate with the character arrays and the string arrays together. Alright, I need how many values, that how many steps you have. So I will have a counter, of course. I have to have a counter. So I'm setting counter to 0 right now. So the counter and the direction, that's what I have, right? And then whenever you gathered the destination and the source location of the player, the next thing you do is you generate an algorithm. You run in the algorithm and then you store values in here. So I'm going to do that manually right now. I'm going to have some values, so some values in my, whenever you click the mouse right, so in here, right, right here. Okay, so now I select whenever you click your destination, right, that means I'm recording my destinations already there. And then let's have my direction, right, and that is a string and 0. Let's say the path I found is going up first, right, and this is I'm making it manually, but you have to generate this by your own algorithm. Okay, right, so equals left, maybe up again, yeah, 2 ups, and let me copy this and change some values in there. So copy this, paste 1, paste 2, paste 3, paste 4. Okay, so now I have a bunch of values. I go forward. So this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, this is 6, and the 7. Okay, the 7 will be the last destination. Whenever you reach the last destination, you stand. Okay, unless that you walk and you so I go from here, I go maybe right, and again 2 rights, 2 rights, and then down, and let's go down 1, and then left 1. All right, so that's the path I'm going, right? So that is the path. Let me count, set up to 0. Counter is starting with 0. So whenever you selected the player and you come and select your destination, this is where you're going to run your algorithm. Whenever you're running your algorithm there, it will generate this thing right here, and this is what I'm going to pass to my movement, which is right here, right? So that's the movement. So when you're talking about that, so this is where you get those values, right? Actually it is a direction here, and so let me think about that a little, right? So now now I want to do is come here and pass this direction here for the movement, and then make the player move, right? So idle is the one which is doing this movement here, and instead of up now I will have my so I don't need any of these things, so let me get rid of all this. I might need the placing a player. I will talk about that in a minute, but I don't need this random thing, so let me get rid of that, and then I will get rid of these things. I might think of this movement, maybe I will put that in the moment. Right, so yeah, if the ticks are greater than 30, and yes, of course you have to worry about the counter, otherwise the counter will be go forever, right? This counter thing, I set up a global counter. If you want to do it differently, you can. So right, so, and then the counter has to be, in my case, you know how many counts you're going to move, right? So that is something that you have to keep track of in your algorithm. So in this case I have 8, right? So it has to be less than, my counter is 0, 1, 2, like that, so it is less than 8, right? Yeah, so the counter has to be less than 8. Counter is less than 8, right? So if the count is less than 8, you move your objects, okay? Once it's reach 8, you stop. Okay, so that is the condition I'm going to check. Otherwise this is actually running forever. This is called idle function, and the idle function is something which is running forever in your program. So you don't see a while loop, you don't see a for loop here in this idle function, but in graphics idle function runs forever. The other thing I want to teach you is, this is a graphic program. In that case you don't run anything in your main like you used to do, right? These are callback functions, so always listening to the keyboard, listening to the renderer, listening to the mouse, listening to the idle function, and so on, and it is running on a main loop. So make sure you don't call anything here. You don't need to actually. If you do that, it is not that good. So that's what I'm saying. If you want to run something once, you put it in a init function, and these all are callback functions, which is running in a loop, right? So in that case, it's better you don't play with the main. Okay, so right, so when you I don't have the key functions here, so I'll just cut that off. You don't need the key functions. And this is where actually your core program comes in, and then you set this up right here. And so then I have the idle function which is running here. And okay, so now the player part, so the move part has a little bit more things that I have to consider. That is yeah, so this is string then, but my move actually on my program is a character. So in that case we have to do little changes in order to make sure I'm converting a string to character and all that, right? So how do I take care of that part? Well, one thing I had to do is convert everything to C underscore str. So that is what it is. C underscore str is something that you have to use as an include library, which I recall in new versions. Give me a second. So you need a library here. Let me see whether what I have before. Yeah, the new library for this is bits, and then standard C++. I think stdc. Yes, this is what it is. Okay, you need that for your. So what I have is this one. Okay, that is for the C underscore string. So that means I'm copying all the character, I'm converting a string to a character array. So that's what I have to do here. So for this purpose, if you design it like this, otherwise you can do anything that you like to do, a different approach, right? So, but yeah, for this demo, I will do that this way. Okay, so what I have to do? Well, I had to create a character buffer, right? Char pointer, right? So that's what I had to pass. Let's call it buffer, right? And then equal to, well, I don't have a big letters. I have a very small number of characters, right? The biggest command I have is stand. So let's have 10 anyway. So just in case, 10 characters I can hold in there. So what I had to do is I had to convert this direction into character array. So it is string copy. The buffer will be, we copy everything to buffer from direction. So C underscore str is the function that will do that for you. Okay, so this is a conversion. Right, when you do that, I will have the directions in my buffer. So we call this, instead of this, I call this buff. Well, once you copy this and then address that, you don't need that anymore, right? It's better you delete it each time. So after I copy that, I can delete it. So why I'm doing this deletion? Because actually it's a bad code. This one is running forever. You can find a better ways to do this, because I'm creating a function here, right? And then I'm calling that in the idle. Idle is running on and on. So that means I'm creating variables on and on each time. So there are better ways to do this. If you want, you can put this globally, right? I suggest you do that. You don't have to delete this, right? Let's create this guy on the top. It's a global. Or you can pass this, whatever. I'm going to put it up here. Otherwise, it's going to run on and on each time when it's executing in a loop, right? So let's have it here, right, for now. Okay, so now come back to move player. I'm copying my string to this guy, right? Well, there's a problem if I do that. You know why? it's going to copy. I'm not sure is it, yeah, it will copy from the beginning, right? Each time it's going to be right. So one problem here is, let's say I copy, that's a pretty interesting thing, right? What I'm saying here is when I do that in the global, see what happens, right? So when we come here, and then the first time my character is like this, and I'm going to copy up in there, maybe stand, let's say I have a stand in there in my character, right? So that means this direction is stand, and then I'm copying that to my character. So this is what I have in my character array because it's global. And then I come back again with another command which is up, right? So then I'm going to copy up to this guy. So what happened? Now it will be copy up. Maybe these things will be stay the same. Maybe something else in the junk in there, right? You never know what will be in there, right? So these are the crumbs from the previous copy. So this character array, when you take it like that, will have a different values in there. So do you think it will make sure that you have up and down instead of you have up and A and D in there, right? Sometimes. So it's not good in this case. So that is why you have to consider recreating the variable on and on. So instead of having it globally, we may have to consider this factor, which is your array will have junk, and then junk will make it worst, right? Maybe it will be a serious bug you're never going to catch. So in this case, let me get this back. If you recreate it every time, it's better you recreating it for the size of your direction. I mean, like for example, instead of 10 here, have a string length, string strlen, I guess, yeah, string length of dir, right? Constant. Oh, no, this is not what you have to do to figure out the length of your string. So it will be str.length, I guess, yeah, str.length. I think so. I think I need another library. Oh well, let's compile and see. I get buffer new string length of str. It's not str, it's just dir. In my case, dir dot length. Yep. So let's see whether it compiles. Not throwing any errors. Right, so far I think so far so good. Right, yeah, so no errors. So this is the length I'm taking in. So each time it will be, if it is up, it is 2 characters. If it is stand, whatever the size I'm going to get as a size. So so there are no junk, so it will compare with exact words. So that's the reason. But in that case, maybe I had to delete it, right? So let me delete it here. Whenever I have something, I move that with that whatever I get, and then I'm going to delete it. So sometimes you have to do something like that. I don't like that code because it's going to repeat each time. If you can find a better way to do that, please do so. I'm doing this because if you're passing a character array straight, then you don't have to worry about this. Okay, right, I'm passing string, so that's why I just want to point out those things. So that's why I just do it this way. All right, okay, so it's up to you how you're going to do this. All right, so that is this, but I have a few more things to do here, which is right. So now I'm going on steps. I set up to 0, and if I really moved one square to the other, I will stand each time. So let me have stand here each time when I move it there, right? So what I had to do is strcpy buffer, and then I will say stand. So each square, when I move to one square to the other, there's a 500 millisecond pause. In that pause I will stand instead of having an action there. So that's what I'm going to do here, and I have to make sure I will locate it right in the middle of the place I moved to. So otherwise if I move it half away, it's not good either. So when I'm standing right in the middle of the box. So how do I do that? Well, ply of course, and the place player ply get location x and get location y. So it will be exacting the location, the square I'm going to stand. So that helped me to place him in the right square, inside the square. Okay, so now this is, he's walking up to another square and I'm placing him and standing him. So he will be there for a while before I move. So after you move it, you do all this, so the counter will be increased right here. Okay, so that is how I'm going to move from one place to the other. So I had to set this to 500, I think 500 milliseconds. I had to stay there according to the assignment. So it says down here, it says, yeah, include a pause of 500 milliseconds after that cell was visited to show the different steps. So he's go there and he waits, it seems like, right? So let me do that here. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Let me make sure this runs, right? So now I have the movement and the counter for that, and then he's moving not up anymore. Now I'm moving him in the direction. So what is the direction actually? That is where do I get that value? Well, I'm going to get that value from my array, right? So so this is not what I have to do here. So I had to pass my dir, right? So direction of the array, right? Yeah. So this is what I have, and then it is a counter, right? Yeah. Okay, so the direction array is a counter that I'm going to use. So this is the same thing at the bottom one too, right? I call an array called direction, the string array, and I have some values in there. So that is what I'm going to use here, right? Okay, so now either player 1, player 2, if I have more players, you have to add those players here with the frame number. Whoever is activated will move, the others will be on the same place. So in this case I have this situation. I have an error ply place player. Okay, so what is the error I get here? Let me see. Okay. Obviously, yes, it is not a capital P, it's a simple P. Right, so it is a caps lock issue. And this is how it is. Alright, now compile. Right, so now even I click my right button, doesn't do anything. If I click right button, now he's moving. Oops, he's moving up, and then he left, and he's going down, and then the left again. So if I click this guy, still the first one is the one is moving. So what happened to my second guy here? Yeah, there you go. either this one, right? Now he's going off the screen. He cannot go off the screen, but he's coming back. This one, wrong key again. Right, so this is what happened now. Left button is my left button is what? The left button is my selecting the player, and the right button is my selecting the destination, right? So whenever you're done with your destination, this means the player is selected, then you're going to move, right? So that's what you do here actually. And is that how it works? So now let me see. First I come and I select the player, but it should not move now. So that's the bug, right? So why is that? Because I am selecting the player by clicking the left button, right? And the destination is already selected. Right? And if I click again the right button and then the left button, then the other one works. So it's not good. So if I click on this guy and then this guy, it works. Otherwise, if I click again the left button, still it's working for this guy. So yeah, selecting a player is left, so he should not move if I click the left, right? So that's something we have to fix. Whenever I click the right, he's moving. So if I click the left button and then the right, yeah, that's fine. No, there's no bug in it, so it's good. So the first thing I have to do is select the player, right? So how do I select the player? I click the left button and then you say the destination, so it's just moving like that. Yeah. And for the other one, this one, first I select the player by the left button and then I click the oh yeah, he was on the top. Okay, now if you have it in the top, that's the issue. Right, good. Right, so now if I want to move my bat again, I click on him, the left button and then destination, right button. There you go. And if I want to use my other player, I click on the left button and then the destination, right button, and he's moving. Okay, good. So it's shifting, and then I just set up some array here and then it works for that. So is that all you have to do? Let me check. So the 500 milliseconds thing. So after you move to one square to another, automatically you have to wait 500 milliseconds. How do I do that? Well, that's pretty easy actually. So let me go back. Oops, I don't want to close this. Oh my god. Okay. Let me open again my assignment. Right, so I have one timer actually, the T0. It is taking care of my idle. I don't want to mix up with this guy. I will have another timer, which is, let's go ahead and create one. So the timer is right here. That is for the animation, and now we want to have one for the pose, right? So let's go ahead and create one. Copy this, and this one is T1, and then you go and initialize your T1 here the same way. Copy that and then paste that and then change the value to 1. Good. And then you come down to, yeah, the time taking. So where do we want to change this? Well, each time when I hit here, when I come here, he's standing, right? He's standing. So So I'm moving this one after actually after 500 milliseconds, right? So you get ticks again. So it is T1, right? T1 this. Oh, let me think about it. Yeah, he's going there and he waits for the other command. So he's standing, so it's good, it's okay. So get ticks here, T1. So let's say it's the same thing here. So let me copy that. And, right, so in order to jump to the next situation, I'm waiting there for 500 milliseconds, right? 500 milliseconds. That's a lot though. Well, I don't know. That's what they're asking for your assignment. So I will have it here. Okay. So 500 milliseconds, and then you had to reset, right? So you had to reset your timer. So it is T1. Oops. Here it is T1 again. And here reset right here. Okay, so yeah, let's see what happens when you run this. Okay, so now I have set up my timer in there. Alright, so let me make it big like that, and right click on this and then left click on that. Well, 500 is not that small. It's just going fast here. So right click on this and this. So you can see there's some glitches on that image because it's not perfectly centered. And right click on this and this. So this is how he's going to move on one square to the other and then move on, right? So he did not stand. Oh yeah, maybe this is his standing position, right? So when I click again, right, so you go, and then you stop, right? Okay, so that speed is enough. So whenever he's increasing, that's where the counter comes in, and then you reset that. Is that all? Let me see. So you did all this, and then you do this. Oh, you may change the color of each cell that could visit it to highlight the path. So that means what? That means you have to run this one more time before you execute. That means before you execute these commands, you will run one more time to highlight the path. That's what it says, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think so. You may display change the color of each cell of cell that should be visited. That means before you visit, you highlight the path, right? So that means in your program you have to highlight the path before you make the player move. I'll leave that part for you to do. Why? Because it's only you can do that by the tiles. Okay, these tiles. So you can create some tiles. For example, let's say I have created another one, which is invisible tile. So the path highlighter, right? So let's have something called wall highlighter. Maybe 100 of them. Maybe you have. Okay, so whatever the number you want, you put it there. Obviously, you have to initialize it the same way you initialize W. Let me call it highlighters. I don't want to type the whole thing, so let me type this one as H. Right, highlighters. Okay. Right, and then you will have to have a color for that. When you're talking about colors, I have to talk about something as well. Yeah, let's initialize that here. Let's have the same image, for example. Y right now dot. Right, so instead of placing it like that, I will place these things with outside of the grid. So that means maybe -1 comma -1, so you don't see it. Okay, you don't see it now, you will see it later. Right, and then yeah, of course I had to draw it, so come here and say H I dot draw wall. Okay, so now then whenever you having these answers, you may have to calculate the location, right? Let's say, for example, up means current location plus the y-axis value, right? So like that, you have to set the locations. By that location, you can place those, right? So for example, you just run this execute once, and then right now when you run this, you don't see anything. Right, I don't have any bricks in there. Okay, yeah. So and also, did I load an image for that? Forgot. No, I will put the same image for now. Okay. All right, so go ahead and copy this and then put it here, and let me have this guy here, the same image. You can have any image you want. And one more thing I want to point out here is coloring, right? So that is part that I did not address yet. Okay, so now it is -1. You didn't see it anyway. So now if I place 2 tiles, let's put 2 tiles. Let's say H0, right? Dot place wall. The first path is going up, right? So up means what? Up means get player location, right? Player location. So you have to write a function, of course, to get the player location. Let's say, what is the location right now? I mean, my player is in let's see, my player is in actually the start with this is the creation of the player, and in it has my player location is 60. Let's say 70. I'm going to highlight 70. So this is going to be 7, 0, and then the other one, other tile, I can highlight it as right, the other one H, maybe H1, right? And dot place wall 8, 0, like that. Okay, so like that you can highlight things, right? And so this is according to these paths, so you can show it. But when you run it right now, what happens is, oops, error on this. Okay, so what is the error? So it's not dot, it's just a, it has to be comma, right? Yeah. Yes, so it won't show at the beginning, it will show when you select the destination and the source, right? Yeah. So when you click on this guy and click the destination, click on this guy and then click the destination, Now it's showing here, right? So these are the two tiles that I put 7 and 8. So this is this way. But the thing is, right, like that you can set the path. So I did it in the wrong direction. I have to say 0 and not the 0, actually the player is on 6 and 0. So I'm going up means 6 here and then 1 here, right? And then again this one will be 6 and 2 actually. So that is the path, right? So anyway, it will show the bricks when you select this, right? But that is not good. It's not look good, right? So there are two things I can do to make it highlighted once. So for that, let me address something that I did not address before, right? One thing, to change the colors of this, I have to set up the material enable, right? So the enable materials will change the color of this. I'm not sure that I have that in my code, so I'll tell you what, you can add this line into your code, so it will enable the material. So let me pull that up. Okay, so what you need is go to main.cpp, go to initialization, and then I want to say, okay, show the material color. So right here, clear color. After that, let me do this one, which is a GL enable, okay, and I will say capital GL underscore color, right, color underscore material, right? So that is something you need if you want to set the colors, but I don't have the color set up manually, right? I want to test this. If you want to test this, go to wall.cpp and change this color. If it's a live wall, I have right now it's white, right? So it is. If I have something like this, and then if I run this, now everything is red, right? Instead of I have my little color, right now it's red, but this is not what I want actually, right? I want only some selective ones to be colored. So let me have some variables for this guy. So let's have go to wall.h and have wall color in 3 values, right? I wish I have one set up for that, but otherwise I had to set 3 values. Never mind. Okay, for the simplicity of this, float red, float blue, and float green, and float alpha, right? So those are the things I need, right? So red, green, blue, and alpha, right? RGB. Okay, so now RGB means red, green, and blue. Okay, so anyway, let's go back to wall.cpp and change these values. I'm going to replace by 4 values, obviously, and this one is going to be 4F in that case, and then red, green, and blue and alpha values. Okay, so red, green, blue, and alpha. So now I had to initialize this, of course, otherwise I'll be in trouble. So for now I have setting, I'm going to set these things in my constructor, okay, and I'm going to set these things everything here is going to be equal to 1, right? Equal to 1.0. So that means, yeah, it's all cool. I will have white color now. So let's run this. Right, so this is the original color, no colors in it. Now, when I go to my main.cpp, I want to change my highlight tiles, which is H1s, right here. Let's have some fancy color in it. So how do I do that? Well, I can go H, I, right, oops, I dot red, right? So red, I set some value, and H, I dot blue, I set some value, right? And H, I dot green, I set some value. And then I have H, I dot alpha. I should put some value. Okay, so if I really want only the red color, I would say 1.0, right? And 1.0 here. I mean the 0.0, 0.0, oops, 0.0. And here also 0.0, and this guy, which is alpha 1, I'll put 1.0 for now. Okay, so now I want red ones. Right, so I reinitialize everything here, change the colors now. Okay, so now let's go and see what happens. So now I have my original, and I select player and then the destination. There you go. Now it's red tiles, right? But well, it will cover your background. It's not good when you do that, because this is just a highlight that is showing some fancy things, right? That means I'm just showing the highlighted path. It's not should not get a complete red color. So in order to do that differently, I can change this alpha value. So 0.4 or something like that will give you a very faded outlook, right? Right, so what you do here now is select this guy, select the destination, there you go. Now it's just like slightly, so like that you can set the path wherever he's going to walk. You setting that path for him to move. Okay, so that is the part that you will do your own. So select this guy, did not work, so select this one. Now it's working. Right, so yeah, whatever you want to do with it. Okay, so I call this is all I can do for you. So I think look at the way I code this, and then you can pause it, and then you code it, and then play around with it. And good luck with your project. And I think I address all the things here, right? So the algorithm that you're writing is up to you, but plugging it to interface is that. All right, so good luck, all the best.